evening, everyone. This is the Tuesday, February 19th, 2019 meeting of the Wenham Community Preservation Committee, duly posted at Town Hall. This evening is going to be a little different than some of our other meetings because we have a quorum here. We have Dennis, Corin, Barbara Locke, Leo Mastranzi, and Arthur Burt here. And by remote, we have Tom Starr, and we have Natalie. And we have Patrick Waddell. Because this is a somewhat different format, and because we were a little lengthy and wordy and argumentative, and some would say even hostile at our last meeting, we're going to be very careful tonight. We're going to go around the room very quietly and carefully, and we're going to speak in turn and only when recognized by the chair. If somebody has something they think is critical they need to intersperse with, please raise your hand. Now, to begin with, I should also tell you that the three who are not here are not at the meeting because they are out of town. You may recall this is school vacation week, and many of them, these three, are too far to come in for this meeting tonight. Okay, so therefore, turning to the agenda, item 1 is the approval of the February 13 minutes, if ready, and they are not ready. Understandably, because Catherine Tinsley is out every night with all the town boards and very lengthy minutes to document. So secondly, we're going to look at our current fund balance, and I'm going to ask Jackie if she'd be kind enough to walk us through what we need to know.
So you all have an attachment in your packets, including those remotely, have it by email. You'll note that this looks very similar to the fund balance report from last week with very minor changes. The first change being that you'll note the highlighted items were things that were recommended but not yet voted by this committee, in terms of that the committee made the $750,000 recommendation for the Maple Woods project, but we have to vote this evening, the committee has to vote this evening, excuse me, to finalize which funding sources those will be coming from. I did make a slight adjustment to those funding sources. If you'll note, I decreased the amount from budgetary reserve and slightly increased the amount in the CPA fund balance, and that was based on the discussion last week where we said we'd like to have $50,000 in that budgetary reserve account. So that's the only significant change from the version that you saw before you last week. But if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to assist.
Are there any questions? Thank you, Jackie. If not, we're going to review and finalize the motions for the CPC recommendations for town meeting. We did quite a bit last time, and we were diligent about noting which funds, which CPC funds the recommendations were to come from, with the exception of one. I'd like to do that one first. That is number 7, so that we are certain that we get that done properly. That is that we move the sum of $750,000 to be transferred from the Community Preservation Fund, of which, and now if you go back to your sheet with the highlighted ones, would somebody like to make a motion?
So moved, Ms. Chairman.
That we...
Well, I think we do, Leo, want to specify which amount is coming out of which fund, excuse me,
So,
for the interruption.
So...
I can do that.
Oh,
You're taking it from the fund balance here.
Do you want to do it?
Yes. Okay. We're taking it from the Harbor Lake Community Partners. It's from the fund balance, and it's for the amount of $182,052.
Okay. And?
I'd like to make a motion that we accept.
Well, no, it's the same motion. So you want to continue.
We want to continue.
So turn the page.
Oh, you want to go through the, you want to go this way?
You've got to come up to the $750,000.
Okay, I got you now. I thought you wanted individual people to do it. Okay, from the community housing, the fiscal year 2020, Harbor Lake Community Partners, Maple Woods, it's $373,119. And from the budgetary reserve, from FY20 appointment, it's, yes, it's fiscal year 2020, Harbor Lake Community Partners, Maple Woods, $194,829.
Okay, now, the next part of that motion is all these contingencies. Would you, Arthur, go ahead?
Which,
All right.
Excuse me, if I may, we've already voted those contingencies, so I don't know if
I
you want to
want to
revote.
go through them because
Sure.
there were some additions and corrections.
Correct,
Okay? So if you'd be kind enough just to read.
where do you want me to start? Right here, Partners Incorporated, where do you want me to pick it
Yes,
up?
as a grant to Harbor
As a
Light.
grant to Harbor Light? Okay,
There's one vote.
You're making one motion.
It's one motion.
It's not one separate one, okay.
okay, we're picking up
We're
here.
just continuing, we allocated the funds from the various buckets.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'll continue.
so everybody needs to focus in, particularly those on remote, that this is exactly what we have agreed upon. Okay?
As a grant to Harbor Light Community Partners Incorporated for the acquisition and or creation of 45 units of housing for seniors over the age of 62, are earning no more than 80% of the area median income, including the town of Wenham, for the project known as Maplewood Senior Affordable Housing, located at 62 Maple Street, Wenham, Mass., and described in detail in the application filed with the CPC on January 23, 2019, the project. And to authorize the Board of Selectmen to enter into a grant agreement with Harbor Light Community Partners Incorporated, setting forth the terms and conditions of the grant, including requirement that the town be provided with an affordable housing deed restriction or restrictions in such property in perpetuity, and to authorize the Board of Selectmen to accept such restrictions, execute any documents and other agreements, and take all other action necessary to effectuate this vote, provided, however, that the Board of Selectmen should not expand the funds appropriated hereunder unless the following conditions are met. 1, a final ruling, settlement, and/or dismissal by the court is reached with respect to the matter of insert name of litigation. Okay, insert name of litigation, including case number. The pending litigation regarding the appeal of the Maplewoods comprehensive permit issued by the Wenham Zoning Board of Appeals. 2, the Zoning Board of Appeals issues a new comprehensive permit for the project, which permit is not appealed. 3, the project receives all of the necessary permits and town department approvals. 4, the projects to be undertaken is consistent with the binding term sheet dated January 7, 2018, on file with the town clerk, rather than the development already permitted by Maplewoods LSC several years ago. 5, the Board of Selectmen or its designee has verified that all the aforementioned conditions are met.
And I think we need to add the footnote that date of January 7, 2018 probably should have been 2019.
We haven't verified it from the applicant, but we're quite sure it's a typo, and we want to
Right.
include that in the warrant book for
Yes.
the public.
Oh, good.
Okay? Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Is there any discussion?
Just a reminder that folks that are remote need to unmute before they kind of raise their hand, just for timing purposes, which I think someone just did.
Call the vote.
So, this is consistent with what we voted last time, and so we're just approving these buckets of funds. So, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Roll call vote, please.
All right?
Vote participation and you have to.
Yes, that's right. Okay, can they hear me?
Can you,
Yes.
I think if you just call by name.
All right, Patrick?
Aye.
Natalie?
Aye.
Tom?
Confused.
Aye.
Thank you. Dennis?
Aye.
Barbara?
Aye.
Leo?
Aye.
Arthur?
Aye.
Harriet? Aye.
I'm confused about that. I thought if you can vote if you're remote?
Yes.
If we have a quorum here, yes.
I didn't know that.
If your chair is present and have a quorum, it has to be roll call vote.
Okay, didn't know that.
Okay, thank you. That is the most important item on our agenda. What we need to do now is to look through these other motions and just, I think, basically, the best way to do it is to have somebody read them. Catherine, did you get them all all of this last time, or would you like us to read them in their entirety now? It's some of the contingencies. There were some words left out, there were a few changes.
If you have changes since the last meeting,
Yep.
then I believe that they should be
Read into the minutes. All right, so,
Let me read the first one.
sure. Leo, would you like to read the first one then? This would
Chairman.
be number here, over here.
Number one here
That one is
is the
The-
town hall.
anticipated motion CPC recommendations. I think that one stands.
Number one, you mean?
Number one.
Number one and number two are the
Two.
annual.
Yes, they stand. So number three, if you'd just like to read number three.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move that the sum of $1,200 be transferred from the Community Preservation Fund Open Space and Recreation Reserve for the purpose of purchasing and installing the so-called Wenham Lake Cedar Street bench, including all incidental and related expenses, which project is described in detail in the application submitted to the Community Preservation Committee on January 7, 2019. Such sum to be expended under the direction of the Town of Wenham Open Space and Recreation Committee.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
No.
Roll call vote. Dennis?
Aye.
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 Sorry, Barbara.
Aye.
Leo?
Aye.
Arthur?
Aye.
Natalie?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Patrick?
Aye.
Harriet? Aye. Okay, thank you. So that is number three. We're now on to, Barbara, would you read number four?
Sure. Move that the sum of $6,000 be transferred from the Community Preservation Fund Open Space and Recreation Reserve for the Open Space Trail Map Project, including all incidental and related expenses, which project is described in detail in the application submitted to the Community Preservation Committee on February 6, 2019, such sum to be expended under the direction of the Town of Wenham Open Space and Recreation Committee.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second that motion.
Any discussion? Roll call? Dennis?
Aye.
Barbara?
Aye.
Aye.
Leo?
Aye.
Arthur?
Aye.
Patrick?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Natalie?
Aye.
Harriet? Yes, aye. Okay. Now, we are down to number five. Dennis, number five?
Sure. I move that the total sum of $126,100 be transferred from the Community Preservation Fund, of which the sum of $99,619 shall come from the Historical Resources Reserve, and the sum of $26,481 shall come from the CPA budgetary reserves for fiscal year 2020 debt service on borrowing for the rehabilitation of the historic town hall.
Is there a second?
Second.
I just want to comment that this year, we're not required to read the long description that we have on other years on this item. We ran that by town council. So, ready to vote? Arthur?
Yes.
Leo?
Yes.
Barbara?
Aye.
Dennis?
Aye.
Natalie?
Aye.
Patrick?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Harriet? Good. Okay, I said aye. Now, we are now on to the number six. This one we did have to tweak a little bit since we were here the other night. So, Arthur, would you like to read this one?
Certainly. Move the sum of $50,000 be transferred from the Community Preservation Fund balance as a grant to the Community House Incorporated for the heating system as part of the preservation and rehabilitation of the historic community house located at 284 Bay Road, Hamilton, Mass., and to authorize the Board of Selectmen to enter into a grant agreement with the Community House Incorporated upon such terms and conditions as the Board of Selectmen shall deem appropriate, including but not limited to the provision to the town of an historic preservation restriction in perpetuity in such property, and further that historic preservation efforts be documented to the satisfaction of the Board of Selectmen to accept an historic preservation restriction in such property, execute documents, and take all other action needed to effectuate the purposes of this vote.
Is there a second?
Second the motion, Ms. Chairman.
I would just point out that we did specify the heating system, and we took out reference to the Historic District / Historical Commission being involved, considering that this property is in Hamilton. I didn't see that it was appropriate for our historic district to be involved. So that plus the in perpetuity is the only thing I think we changed there. From the remote, are there any questions on this? Hearing none. Are we ready to vote?
Aye.
Yeah, Dennis, aye. Barbara?
Aye.
Leo?
Aye.
Arthur?
Aye.
Patrick?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Natalie?
Aye.
Excellent. Okay. Now, Barbara, I'm going to pick on you. Can I, for number 8?
Oh, geez.
For the,
One more time.
almost done, yes, I told you to be short.
The sum of $60,000 for the Community Preservation Fund balance as a grant to Habitat for Humanity North Shore Incorporated for the creation of 2 affordable housing units developed through the use of a comprehensive permit-friendly 40B process for 1 2-bedroom unit and 1 3-bedroom unit for the project entitled 40 Hull Street, located at 40 Hull Street, Wenham, Massachusetts, as described in detail in the application filed with the CPC on January 7, 2019, the project, and to authorize the Board of Selectmen to enter into a grant agreement with the Habitat for Humanity North Shore, excuse me, included setting forth the terms and conditions of the grant, including a requirement that the town be provided with an affordable housing deed restriction in such property in perpetuity, and to authorize the Board of Selectmen to accept such restriction, execute any documents or other agreements, and take all other action necessary to effectuate this vote, provided, however, that the Board of Selectmen shall not expend the funds appropriated hereunder unless the following conditions are met. 1, the Zoning Board of Appeals issues a comprehensive permit for the project, which permit is not appealed. 2, the project receives all other necessary permits and the town department approvals. 3, the project is to be undertaken is consistent with the project as described in detail in the application to the Community Preservation Committee on January 7, 2019. And 4, the Board of Selectmen or its designee have verified that all of the aforementioned conditions have been met.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dennis. Is there any questions, discussions on this? If not, shall we vote? Dennis?
Aye.
Barbara?
Aye.
Leo?
Aye.
Arthur?
Aye.
Natalie?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Patrick?
Aye.
And I'm voting aye. So that's wonderful. Now, the only other really interesting, important thing we have is we talked at... Yes?
Chairman, if I may, did the committee wish to order these in any particular order in regards to 3 through 8 for the town warrant book, or are you content with the order as is? That is a decision to be made tonight.
Does anyone have any thoughts on the order of these items?
I have a thought.
Yep.
I think that number 7 and number, no, actually, no, I take that back. Number 7 and number 8 should remain in that designation. I think it's fine.
Anybody else have any thoughts on the order?
Yes, Madam Chair,
Yes?
I would suggest we order them in the order
Wait a minute,
of...
would you identify yourself? Is that Patrick?
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
I suggest we order them in the amount of the expenses. So most money first, least amount last.
That's an interesting thought.
Is that a motion?
Is that a motion?
I move that we order the recommendations to town meeting in the descending order from most capital outlay to least.
I'll second the motion.
Leo, second your motion. Is there any discussion?
I don't see the relevance of that personally. I think it's fine, the order it's in now. Everybody will have their warrant books, and they'll be able to see exactly what's going to be happening next. So I think it's fair to just leave it as it is. People will know what's coming down the pike.
Any other comments?
Can I speak?
Tom is asking to be recognized.
Oh, Tom?
Natalie, can you mute for a minute? Because Tom was being recognized, because we can hear you.
Yeah, I think it adds a level of logic. I mean, I know they were in no particular order, and if you leave it this way, I think you have to leave in that phrase, in no particular order. But I think if you put it in, reverse order of amount, or, from the largest to the smallest, it has a logic to it that's unquestionable.
Just in case he can't be heard, he's saying that if we don't choose to put them, that there's logic in putting them biggest to smallest, but if we don't do so, we should note that they are in if they are in no particular order, we should note that.
Mm-hmm. Any other comments? The motion on the floor is to put them in the order of size.
Biggest to smallest.
From the biggest to the smallest.
I thought it was from the smallest to the biggest.
No, the motion was biggest to smallest.
Biggest to smallest, yeah.
Any other comments on that?
I have no preference.
I don't have any preference. So the motion is,
You don't either.
the motion is to put them from biggest to smallest. Dennis?
Aye.
Barbara?
Yay.
Leo?
Nay.
Aye.
Patrick?
Aye.
Natalie?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
So I haven't voted. What's the,
It's 5-2 without your vote.
oh, so it doesn't matter. So yes, I'll approve it. Okay, so it's going to go from biggest to smallest, all right? Now, I think it was Tom who said at a previous meeting that we should urge the Affordable Housing Trust to do their fair share and fund the application that will be forthcoming from Harbor Light. And therefore, I took the time to draft a letter, which you have in your packet, that would go to Josh Anderson, who is the chairman of the Affordable Housing Trust, and I sent it to Andrew to see if it was accurate or even appropriate. And you have his comments in which he thought it was. Now, I'll read you the letter, and we can edit it, ignore it, omit it, or whatever. What I said was, Dear Josh, at the regularly scheduled meeting of the Community Preservation Committee on February 13, 2019, the committee voted to fully fund the Harbor Light Partners application for $750,000 for its age-restricted affordable housing project at 62 Maple Street, Wenham, which will bring Wenham's affordable stock above the 10% level. Recognizing the need to show local support by funding at least $1 million from Wenham to accommodate the terms of the settlement agreement, CPC respectfully urges the Affordable Housing Trust to act swiftly on Harbor Light's application for at least $250,000, if not the full anticipated amount of $600,000. This project is critical to the financial health of the taxpayers of Wenham, lest an unfriendly 40B developer avoids town bylaws and constructs a large apartment complex without age restriction that might add exponentially to our already highly expensive school system, as well as to our public safety services. With best regards, signed by the committee members who would like their name so affixed.
I will recognize.
Tom, can you speak up once you're recognized?
Okay, yeah, I'll do my best.
Okay, Tom?
Yeah, no, Harriet, I just wanted to take issue with the way you characterized my comments on this. It's true that I feel that the Affordable Housing Trust exists to fund a project like this, but I did not advocate for communicating with them.
Well, I'll go back and listen, but I think you did, but that's where I got that idea. I apologize if incorrect. But anyway, it's not mentioned in this letter.
No, I understand.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes?
I'd like to move, we send the letter as written.
All right, thank you, Leo. Oh, by the way, just for the record, Catherine Tinsley, I never did mention that one of our members is absent, and that is Don Killam, totally neither in present or by remote. Are there any other comments?
Yes, Madam Chair?
I'm sorry.
That's Patrick.
Patrick, yes, Patrick.
Well, I feel that the agenda item 4 is misleading. This is a public document because as far as I know, my last conversation with members of the AHT, no application has been made. I don't know if that has changed.
No, it hasn't.
So the agenda item is misleading because it references that there have been applications made to both committees. And that is, we've now put that in a public document, 1. 2, I don't feel that this is our place to be telling the AHT what to do. We've shown our support with the $750,000. I do not feel that we should be sending this, and I do feel it is misleading because we reference an application that, again, has not been made, and I would not like my name affixed to this.
I have so noted that, Patrick. Anybody else like to comment?
I have a comment.
Yeah, Natalie?
Yes, hi there. Hi. I really agree with Patrick's sentiment. I do not feel like that letter is appropriate. I think, again, it goes beyond the scope of our committee. I think we're sort of misunderstanding our role as a funding mechanism. I think if you, Harriet, want to send a letter and talk with your name on it, you go right ahead and do that, but I will not support sending this letter on behalf of the committee.
So noted, Natalie. Barbara?
I have no problem with my name on this letter. I think it's great, and it's to the point, and it's really what we've been waiting for this project, a donation from the Affordable Housing Trust. It's something that they have expressed a strong interest in the past.
Amen. Mr. Chairman, there's a motion on the floor.
Wait a minute, yes, but I am now asking for input from particularly those people who aren't here in the room. Dennis?
I have no issue with it.
When you're ready, I could say something again.
And,
I concur with Barbara.
okay. So, in
Sorry,
principle,
Harriet, Tom asked to be recognized.
oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Tom.
Sorry, Tom, you're on the
Yeah.
quieter phone. I apologize.
Yeah, no, I just am concerned that even those of you who choose to send a letter, I think you should clarify the end of the first paragraph, because you're asking the AFT to act swiftly on Carbolite's application. As Patrick points out, that doesn't exist. And then you're specifying an amount. And then you go into the fact that it's an anticipated amount of $600,000, kind of recognizing the fact that the application doesn't exist.
It may exist by their next meeting,
Messy there.
which is next Wednesday, the 27th. And we know about the $600,000 because it's in our document in the original application that they would be asking for a total of $1,350,000.
No, I understand where you got it. But, you know,
I see. Okay.
I mean, I don't know. I think it's just.
Well, one could
Range.
easily add to act swiftly on Harbor Light's application when received.
If and when, maybe, yeah.
Okay?
Madam Chairman, may I ask?
Ask for a second, Ms. Chairman.
Wait a minute, I have to do the receipt. Okay. Has everyone spoken? I do believe. Do we have a second on this at this point?
Second.
Second.
Maria, can you just clarify with Tom whether he wants his name on the document?
I think he does not.
I don't think
No, I do not, and just to clarify that, you know, I mean, it's one thing to
We'll just put the names of the people.
It's one thing to ask Harbor Light to act on the application for the remaining amount that would reach the $1 million total, but it's a little bit much to ask them to go beyond that.
No, that's all right, Tom. All I'm trying to do now is just to confirm that Barbara Locke, Arthur Burt, Dennis Curran,
No, I understand, yeah.
myself,
obviously you guys
and,
can- whoever wants to agree
yeah.
to sign it.
I will have to check with Don
agree to have
Killam.
their name to anything, yes, I understand that.
Yeah, okay. So we have a motion, and we have
Second.
essentially voted by,
We have the vote. What's that?
yes. Dennis?
Aye.
Barbara?
Aye.
Leo?
Yes.
Me is aye, and your aye. And the three remotes, just to be formal, Natalie,
Yes, sorry, could we clarify what we're voting?
you're voting on
the letter?
Yeah, on the letter, and your answer is no, you're not a signatory.
Okay, yes, no.
And Tom is not a signatory.
Right, not a signatory.
And Patrick is not a signatory, correct?
Correct.
Okay, all right, wonderful. Now we've done that. The only real important thing left is to decide what time, the day of town meeting, are we going to meet to finalize anything. There may be absolutely nothing at this point, but just in case there is, what I would suggest is that we meet at 12:30 in the lunchroom at the Bucher School. We'll basically post that agenda if, in fact, we have some items. We may have nothing more than the approval of the February 13 minutes, which I would like to do this year.
That timing is okay.
Is there,
The selectmen usually meet minutes.
They're going earlier this year, I think.
is there any other business that, to come before this committee at this time?
Not that I know of, Ms. Chairman.
Anybody have any of the remote participants? If not,
Ms. Chairman, will you entertain a motion to adjourn?
I thought you'd never ask. Yes.
Ask for a second.
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Roll call.
Aye.
Dennis?
Aye.
Barbara?
Aye.
Leo?
Yes.
Arthur?
Yes.
Patrick?
Aye.
Tom? Natalie?
Aye.
All right, well, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
We will meet again on April 6th
At town lunch.
at Town Lunch, please.
That wonderful lunch.
Yes.
Wonderful lunch.